In the aftermath of that pathetic performance at London Stadium yesterday, I'm here to discuss the future and some of the reports that are being leaked about the future of David Moyes. All that is coming up right here next on West Ham Unofficial. See you in a moment. I don't even want to repeat the scoreline because it makes me feel sick, to be honest with you. But look, there's been some reports that have quite conveniently been released this morning regarding David Moyes' contract negotiations. And of course, after that yesterday, we can all assume that things have hit a bit of a rocky turn. That would be logical. That would be probably the normality of the situation. And that seems to be what these reports are suggesting. So I've got three slides to show you. First, straight off the bat, is about, it's from the Mirror, and they say from the Mail. Sorry, they say West Ham stall contract talks with David Moyes over an extension until 2026. So a couple of journalists have been working on that, and I sort of predicted these to come out today, actually, because of obviously with what happened yesterday. The natural progression on from that would be discussions about David Moyes' contract and whether he will still be at the club come next season. And look, I made my opinions, and I made my views very clear on my reflection yesterday evening. Check that out on the channel if you haven't already. I'm just tired of it, to be honest with you. Tired is the word that I will use. And yeah, I expected these reports to follow, and they have. So the first one came from the Mail. Then Jacob Steinberg brought out a little bit of a few comments where he was at the game personally yesterday. I believe he's a West Ham fan or something of the sort. And he has said, despite positivity last month, there's now no guarantee that West Ham will end up giving David Moyes a new deal. Some will expect him to stay, but recent form has changed the mood. Further talks planned later in the season. West Ham hoping to see an improvement in results. He then followed on to say mood could change if Paqueta's return improves the attack. Some winnable games are also coming up. Progress in Europe would also help Moyes. Always going to be ups and downs with a mid-table team, so there's no panic. But West Ham have been looking at potential replacement. So that's the two main areas of report that we've had today regarding David Moyes' future. And yeah, there's been lots of questions asked about Moyes and his managerial status come next season. And look, I think if anybody's saying they want him to be sacked now, that's a fair assessment and that's a fair opinion to hold. But I think it's quite unrealistic unless we go on a really poor. I mean, we haven't won in 7 games. You could argue that's a really poor run of form. But unless we go and lose the next 6 on the bounce, I really can't see the board making proactive action mid-season, where realistically, if we keep playing like that, we aren't going to get anywhere near Europe and we aren't going to get relegated. So there's this sort of period of time now where there's no risk involved. There's not going to be, unless we bring in a manager and all things go, hunky-dory and we can try and push for Europe. But I don't think it's just a flick of a switch in terms of a manager coming in and everything being fine again, because I think there's some deep issues rooted within this squad and the whole sort of setup in terms of on the pitch. I think it won't just take one manager to come in with some different ideas and all of a sudden it will change. There's a lot of players that need to be shifted out of this football club, and we need some fresh faces, some fresh blood to instill in this side, just to sort of change the philosophy, because Moyes has very structurally and very wisely built his team and he's built his sort of structure, and to remove that will take some doing, because you can't just bring in an expansive manager now and say, right, go and play football, because these players are now drilled and structured and set up to play this style of football. And as I said, that just can't be changed with a flick of a switch overnight. And that's the concern, that it will take some time. Even if we do, change the manager, it will still take some time, I think, for any real change to be experienced for West Ham. Let's take some comments to see who is joining us this afternoon. Before we carry on, drop a like on the video. Check out yesterday's video videos and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Michael came in earlier and said if Moyes was a man, he would resign after that shambles. The fans don't want him, and the board will just let his contract run down and not renew. I'm hoping, and I'm pleading with that sentiment, Michael, but I've still got a sort of opinion in the back of my mind, thinking that they're probably going to keep him on. I think, unfortunately, unless things get really dire, which you could argue yesterday was, but unless we see a prolonged period of that sort of performance yesterday, I think they're going to keep him on. I've just got that gut feeling inside me, and as much as I want to try and dismiss it, it's not going away currently. And look, this board have been very loyal to managers in the past. They don't like sacking managers. Karen Brady has come out and said that vocally in interviews, that they aren't a sacking type of board. And obviously that's been quite evident with David Moyes still in a job this morning when we all woke up. Michael also says, as for our future, it looks bleak with Sullivan in charge. He is the constant in everything. Can just hope Tim stays, and sort of like he's the glimmer of hope here, really, isn't he, Tim Steidten? And if he departs for Liverpool, which you can't blame him for if they come calling, then I think we are finding ourselves in further deep-rooted issues that then goes higher than just that first team. It goes through the recruitment and then to the top board level as well, because Steiden's come in and he's been absolutely brilliant. There's no doubt about that. The players he's brought in and what he's tried to put into this side has been excellent, but he can't do it all on his own. He's not on that pitch. He's just signing those players who are good, don't get me wrong, but we need more of them, because currently, barring 3 or 4 in those first team, none of them are really brilliant footballers. None of them are European quality for what we want to do. You can reel them off from, defence up to attack. I mean, goalkeeper isn't an issue, I don't think, at the moment. Areola conceded 6 yesterday, but he also pulled off probably a save of the season for one of Saka's chances, I think it was. But anyway, I think Soufal could be let go. Creswell, Zuma, Agerd, Ogbonna, I think all of them could go, to be honest with you. Souček for sure. Cornet, Ings, they aren't the future, are they? Moyes has made that very clear. And that's just 8 I've just reeled off the bat there. And then we're left with nobody. There is deep issues that is, inflicted and laid inside this football club. And just on squad level, there are those issues. They're evident. They are there. And how it changes, I don't know. Moyes took some responsibility yesterday, but also shifted some to the players as well, and probably rightly so. I think a collective responsibility needs to be taken for that shambles yesterday. But at the end of the day, I don't see a resolution. I put this on Twitter yesterday. I don't see a resolution to this. You can take responsibility all you like, but where is the resolution? Where's the get-out plan? Where is the plan B, for goodness sake, in any part of this, in any aspect of yesterday's performance on the pitch and off the pitch as well? I just don't see a resolution, and I don't see how we're going to muster one up, in my opinion. Afternoon to everybody else in the chat. Usual Suspect says, I blame Happy Hammer for yesterday's result. Jay says, what manager could the Hammers bring in? Who will be better? I don't know. I'm not qualified enough to make that decision. But the bookies have had their say and are going to bring what they believe is the case up onto the screen now. This is courtesy of Hammers Hub on Twitter. Their odds are putting Graham Potter as the favourite currently to take over David Moyes as West Ham manager, with odds of 11-4. Xabi Alonso 5-1. Will Steele, do you remember him? 13-2. Michael Carrick 7-1. Steve Cooper 10-1, and Paulo Fonseca also 10-1. So yeah, the bookies currently have Graham Potter as their favourite to become West Ham's next permanent manager should David Moyes leave the club. Who are forced into the comment section? Would you take any of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options there? I know I certainly would. I mean, Steve Cooper's just a slightly younger version of David Moyes, isn't he? So I would steer clear of Steve Cooper. I don't know a hell of a lot about Paulo Fonseca. I've heard the name, but not too much more, if I'm being totally honest with you. Will Steele, I don't think he's proven enough, to be honest with you. But a West Ham fan, would he know what it means? Would he be a potential option? I'm not sure. Michael Carrick, I think, is a really viable option, to be honest with you. If Borough don't come up this year, then I think he will be looking for a move. Played for West Ham as well. I'd take Michael Carrick on because he's really done some good work at Middlesbrough. Took them to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup and has got them competing in the Championship really well. Xabi Alonso seems to be the manager that is the elected by the Liverpool fans to take over from Jurgen Klopp in the summer. So if Steiden could make that scalp, considering Steiden was the technical director at Bayer Leverkusen before coming to East London, where Xabi Alonso is now, Bayer Leverkusen, maybe that's the only glimmer of hope I'm hanging on to there, but I'd expect him to head to Anfield in the summer. And Graham Potter, I'm not sure about Graham Potter. I don't know. But to be honest with you, I think most will be better than David Moyes. Can you put your thoughts into the chat and comments about those potential options if David Moyes is to leave the club in the summer? Right, let's take some more comments and see what you guys are saying. Wazim says, afternoon all, we are in a free fall. Will Tim be on management picks? I'd expect he'd have a say in it, to be honest with you. I should imagine the resounding final choice for Philip who wants to be a millionaire, then the final answer will be down to Brady and Sullivan, I'd imagine. But I should expect Tim Steiden to have quite a substantial say in it, actually. I should imagine it'll be a board meeting of whoever else is involved, and Brady, Sullivan, Noble, Steiden will be there. Possibly Newman may have a word to say on it as well. But yeah, he will be involved. The length of his involvement, I think, is unknown, but I think he will put a list of names on David Sullivan's desk, and it's then up to David Sullivan whether he pursues any of them for our next manager. And the question is, will Tim be here? I do hope so. Obviously, if Xabi Alonso goes to Liverpool, that's another connection from his former club, Steiden, to Liverpool. So that's not looking good for us in that sense. The dream manager would be Alonso, but I think he will go to Liverpool. Ralph says, Alonso will not be going to Liverpool. He will do another season at Leverkusen unless Barca or Real Madrid come in. Do we want Moyes or Tim? That is what the board need to ask themselves exactly. They've been resolute with the managerial position of David Moyes, because there's been several various occasions over the last couple of years where they could have pulled the plug on Moyes, and they haven't. There's been some dire games, and we've been in some pretty bad circumstances, and they've stuck by him, and I don't see this being any different. And then the end of the season is when then they've got to make that huge $1 million decision. Do they renew his contract, or do we head in a different direction? And I think the majority of the West Ham fan base is hoping for the latter, that we just have a refresh. We thank Moyes, we shake his hand and go, thank you very much. But it's time to go. It's time for this club to show some ambition, to head in a different direction, to pursue a different philosophy. We've got one of the best technical directors in world football, in my opinion, Tim Steiden, at this current moment in time. It would be horrid to squander him, to let him go to Liverpool and remain with David Moyes as manager of this football club, because there is potential. Yes, there are some huge fundamental issues with this squad, but there is still a remained potential that we can succeed. We've seen hints of that, and we just need to make the right decisions. It's a huge summer for West Ham. It's absolutely massive for sure. Michael says, club needs a complete rebuild from top to bottom. It does. In the last couple of seasons, we've reinforced and we've repeated that the squad needs a rebuild, but I think the whole, from top to bottom, I think a refresh is needed. Kansas said, get Arne Slot in. He can bring Jimenez with him too. That's another name that's been banded around. I don't know a great deal about him, if I'm being totally honest, but I think most would be better than David Moyes. Carrick for me, I think it's a very logical option. Michael Carrick, to be honest with you, Sean, Spurs fan who does the roundup show, has mentioned his name over the last 12 months or so, and I think he's a really good option. Of course, talking to Sean, we'll be back with our Premier League roundup show with just me and Sean tonight, 8 o'clock, the later time of 8 o'clock tonight. So join us to drown in some more sorrows as we discuss all of the Premier League action over the weekend. That's 8 o'clock right here on West Ham Unofficial. Helen says we are always one step forward and 2 steps back. Exactly. No Steve Bruce or Tony Pulis. What's going on, Jay? If we employ a manager similar to David Moyes, I think I might cry live on a stream. Honestly, we just need a different direction. Some expansive football is all that I am hoping for. I've been watching West Ham for 50 years, so I've never seen the fan base give up on the team. It was a damning day yesterday for the football club. I mean, with the thousands, not hundreds of thousands, there were thousands that left the stadium at half time, and then throughout the second half they continued to leave in their hundreds as well. And I think that was just a symbol of the fan bases just fed up. It's just absolutely fed up currently, and I think that's the issue that we've got, is the fan base is down, depressed of the football that we are watching week in, week out. And then you get the blooming West Ham YouTube channel. I just put the highlights on the YouTube channel. Read the room, for goodness sake. I can't believe what I'm seeing. The West Ham official YouTube channel has posted the highlights to yesterday's game. Honestly, read the room, West Ham. I mean, it's pathetic. What are we doing? Is that actually true? It is. 17 hours ago, we released the highlights for a 6-0 drubbing on our YouTube channel as if it's a flex. Oh, just honestly. Honestly, bring back Pardew. Luke, hope you're well, mate. He says Gary O'Neill, I take, is a very good manager, but I think he's quite similar to Moyes. I mean, he's been a success at Wolves, but I think it's best for us. I think he's a really good manager, but he has a similar philosophy to David Moyes. When he was down at Bournemouth, we've spoken to Bournemouth fans, and they've made similarities between Moyes and O'Neill. And I think we need to take ourselves in a different direction. If we get O'Neill, it's similar. I think it's an improvement, but it's a similar style of football. The handbrake is very much on in that sense, but we need to either turn left or turn right. We need a new direction with what we're doing, because the fan base yesterday, it epitomised the boredom within us and how we're just fed up of watching this crap every single week. We want to be, it's an entertainment sport. We want to be entertained. We want to be excited to go to home games. And, there's been various people said they're just not going to bother with home games anymore because the experience is not enjoyable, and you can't blame them. Absolutely not. You can't blame them. It's getting quite tedious. And the stadium has something to do about that, and Moyes has no control over that. But Moyes blimmin' has control on the way we play football, the tone he sets, the tempo that we play in, which is walking football at times. And that's what needs to change. That's the fundamental shift and change that needs to happen in order for just a bit of happiness and excitement to come back into the football club. Helen says ref didn't help, giving us 4 yellows. I didn't notice that, to be honest with you. I have my head in my hands for most of it, if I'm totally honest. I left the game yesterday at half time, and I said this on my reflection yesterday evening. I don't blame a single soul for leaving at half time yesterday, because we all knew what was going to happen. We were never going to come back. That was never going to happen in a million years, and it was torture. It tortures me. Sat here watching it. I just had my head in my hands when Rice netted the 6th goal, and I was like, oh, this is just painful to watch. And if I was there, I don't blame anyone for leaving early, not at all. And I find it highly remarkable that there are actually people criticising fans leaving. You've got Chris Sutton coming out saying that you're not a true fan if you leave at half time. I mean, that's just utterly ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, these fans, everybody who goes to London Stadium, they've paid for their tickets. They've also paid for their right to leave whenever they want. That's it. That's the fact. It doesn't look fantastic when you've got hundreds leaving at half time. But that was a symbol yesterday. David Sullivan was stood in that was sat in the stands yesterday. He'd have seen how many empty seats there were when we came out for the second half. Surely that must have cottoned on in his mind that people are done with this. People are fed up. Bored to the back teeth with it, and something needs to change. And hopefully Moyes is the departure of Moyes is the start of that. Curtis, afternoon. I hope you are well. Helen says I lasted till 80 only because my ride wanted to leave. Fair enough. Graham Potter says Hammerhead. I hope you are, mate. I hope all is well with you. The way we are at the moment, Benny Hill would do a better job for the old ones. We'll go over Jake said. That does go over my head. But Luke says, I'll go and watch Rafael Leao destroy us when we draw AC Milan. Oh, we need a favourable draw. Otherwise, we can kiss goodbye to any European football. I mean, if we put out that yesterday, we can kiss goodbye to any European football in the next 10 years at this rate. But a favourable draw, and we'll need a massive upturn in form if our European tour is going to continue after the next round. Let's scroll down some of these comments. Michael says, pundits don't watch this dross every week. They just look at the position in Europe. Exactly, And sometimes I say I can't blame them, but then you've got a few of them came out yesterday and said how poor we were, and it's not engaging in their mind of what West Ham fans have said for the last 2 years, where they've sat on their high horses on TalkSport and Sky Sports and all the rest of it and said they're getting above their station, they're expecting too much. What more could you ask for? You're 6th in the league, you're in the last 16. If you got to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, but quite a few pundits watched that game yesterday, and maybe something inside of maybe they've just flicked a switch, went, oh, maybe these West Ham fans, all West Ham fans that were ringing up these shows and tweeting stuff, maybe they were right. Maybe they were right about the football club they watch week in, week out, and maybe I was wrong who watched West Ham once every couple of months. Maybe that engaged in their brain. I don't know. I don't know. But look, we'll see. We will see. Sean says, I'm no Moyes fan of the style, but I fear for West Ham with the squad with the next manager massively lacking in technical footballers. Listen, the rebuild is inevitably visible. That needs to happen there. And listen, Sean, I reeled off about 8 players that I would just let go without a blink of an eye a little bit earlier on. Players that I think are good enough for where we want to be: Emerson, Alvarez, Kudus, Bowen, Paqueta. Am I missing anybody really? After that, 5 players. I think those 5 players have been decent this season, but apart from that, I am struggling. Gary says no to Carrick. I wish to Alonso. Yeah, absolutely. Cooper, no, just because he looks like Dowie. I wouldn't be in favour of Cooper. I think he's quite similar to the way Moyes plays football, to be totally honest with you. Ryan, hope you well. He says Moyes has to go now. No more excuses anymore. This is a results-based business, and losing by such a heavy scoreline yesterday is embarrassing. And yeah, I 100% agree, Ryan. But it's not just yesterday, is it? We are winless in 7. Some of the batterings we've taken this season: 4-1 to Villa, 6-0 yesterday, 5-0 to Fulham, 5-1 to Liverpool. That's 4 huge defeats this season. That's not a David Moyes side, is what Merce said yesterday on Sky Sports. But that defence is shocking. I'm sorry, that defence is absolutely shocking. I don't think Soufal is up to the standards anymore. I think he's massively regressed this season. Emerson is the only one who I'd happily keep there next season if I had an endless pot of money, and went and bought some players in. Zuma this calendar year has been absolutely dreadful. Gerd looks disinterested and just not involved in the situation. I think that's a shame, because I think there's a good player in there, but we just can't seem to get it out, and the mistakes he makes, and he just doesn't fill me with any confidence and confidence. Gerd. And then the backup centre-half is Ogbonna, who, I think the last game he played actually was against Arsenal back in December, and he was absolutely brilliant, but he's 36 or 37, and he's on his last legs as well, bless him. And the issues are there. Luke says, Simon Jordan today said West Ham are nothing more than a relegation fodder before Moyes. Drives me insane. Honestly, and I do link it with the media backlash that Bournemouth got when they relieved Gary O'Neill of their duties and got in Andoni Iraola. They got absolutely pelters for that, for getting rid of Gary O'Neill, because they wanted to be a bit more expansive. They wanted to have a bit of ambition. And you know what? Fair play to them, because it's starting to pay off now. They're beating some, they're pushing some of the big sides. They're playing nice football. They're going to push the top half of the table towards the back end of this season. And next season, I think they'll be in and around there as well. And they can dream of Europe, and they're playing exciting football, and their fans are enjoying going and watching them every week. But I mean, all these pundits aren't then going back and eating humble pie about, Gary O'Neill being sacked. And Gary O'Neill's a good manager. He's doing wonders at Wolves at the moment. So it's worked out for all parties, but they're not then apologising for criticising Bournemouth. And this is a similar situation that we have here, is that we just get criticised. You're this, you're that. So what? Can't we show ambition? Can't we want a different manager? We're the fans of the football club. We've got to watch this week in, week out. We spend our money going to watch this. So can't we have a say in the future? Can't we have a say in how we do things over the next 2-3 years or even longer? Is it harmful? Is it, abhorrent? Is it incorrect to demand a bit of a vision, a direction for the football club, a philosophy? Is that, banned? Is it? I don't know. You'd think so, wouldn't you? But it is what it is. Michael says, ever noticed how one side of the pundits, exactly, Alan Smith on commentary and Paul Merson in the studio? They couldn't make it more obvious if they tried, could they? Curtis says, shocking performance. I thought the dark days were over. Obviously not. Looks as bad as the team of the late 70s, and it shouldn't look like that, honestly. Obviously, I can't remember the late 70s, but it shouldn't be like that with the Kudus and the Bowen and the Paquetas in this squad. And Alvarez is a very good player. Emerson is a decent player. There are some decent players in this squad, but we are littered. We are littered with poor players that should be nowhere near our first team. I don't think Souček gets in a top 12 club in the whole league. I'm going to be totally honest. Maybe not in, apart from relegation fodder. Does Souček get in any other team's midfield? Because if someone asks me what Souček does, I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss. I've got no idea what he does. Apart from head the odd ball, and maybe he'll get a header every now and then and he'll score. Apart from that, I am at an absolute loss. Him and Ward-Prowse in midfield is absolutely dreadful. Listen, I've always sat on the fence with James Ward-Prowse. I was quite impressed with him at the start of the season. That form petered out around October, November time, and he's never really regained that. Listen, he's a player with a ceiling, James Ward-Prowse. It's a reason he never left Southampton when they were in the Premier League. He is a utility, okay, average player. Having him and Souček in a same midfield is absolutely criminal because they do similar jobs. They're similarly ineffective in what they do through the majority of most games. And having those two in there gives Alvarez a mammoth job to do because not only has Alvarez got to do his own job defensively in terms of cutting out balls and intercepting and tackling, he's also got to play the passes upfield to the progressive players because Souček and Ward-Prowse, they do tread water throughout the game and they very rarely, Ward-Prowse, they'll get their foot stuck in and they'll put in a tackle. But apart from that, I'm at a loss to what they really do to impact the midfield. And that's why we lose so many midfield battles, which then has a knock-on all other aspects of our starting lineup. Ario, do I keep 100%? Yesterday's score was like losing 4 points with the goals against. Exactly, our goal difference was neutral before yesterday. It's now -6. So yeah, that's a fair point. Absolutely. Ogbonna and Mavropanos are our best pairing at present. I think it's very difficult to argue with that because those two were at the forefront of our defence against Arsenal when we beat them in December. And yeah, Mavropanos, when he came on yesterday, did okay in the situation. But Agurd and Zuma seem to be the preferred two. And there's no coincidence that we've conceded 9 goals in the last 2 games when those two have been at the forefront of it because I simply think they are past their sell-by date. His positioning is poor, 100%. 100%, yeah. I'd start him against Forest. Why not? Why not? That result is now part of our history. It's, according to Transfer Market, it's the 5th worst defeat in West Ham's history, a 5th heaviest defeat in West Ham's history. That is embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. Graham says, thank the heavens I live 5,000 miles away from the Olympic Stadium as the embarrassment yesterday was huge. It was painful, it was torture. I really struggled to sit through it, to be honest with you, and it wasn't even anger, it was just disappointment. And I think a lot of people have just become disconnected with it because of the tedious nature of the football, and that's a sad state to get in. For a centre-back, Agurd cannot head the ball again. That's very true. That's very true. Trini says, hope you are. He says, Jordan is unfortunately right, but he fails to mention that now we are heading back there under the same manager. Time for a change. Absolutely. It's time for a change. Graham's in Canada. Lovely. Yeah. The further away you are from that, the better yesterday. Fans are not allowed to show ambition and clubs are not allowed to challenge the greedy six. Exactly. That's the narratives that get spun. That's been done for years. We're all aware of that. But I mean, fair play to Bournemouth for what they've done. That's the example that I'll continue to use, that they showed ambition and look where that's got them now. They're doing decent. There's a buzz around that football club and what we do for that buzz. And I hate to bring them up because we don't particularly like them, but look at the buzz around Tottenham at the moment because they took a bit of a risk because they had Mourinho and Conte, who were negative managers, and their fans were bored of it. They took a risk on Ange Postecoglou, relatively unproven, done it in the Scottish League, but that's not really something that you can judge a manager on. He's come in and they haven't looked back really. They've had endless injuries, and there's some positivity, there's some happiness around that football club, and I hate to use them as an example because they are who they are, Tottenham. But it's hard not to when you look at the two football clubs and the fan base's current attitude and opinion. They're light years past. They're absolute light years past. And that's what the style of football and that's what the manager, that's the effect that the manager has on a football club. Trini says, yeah, but he can hit a pinpoint 60-yard pass and has good recovery pace. No one is perfect and has all the attributes. That's a good point. You know, Agerd does have some good attributes. Don't get me wrong, but he's just looked a bit disinterested in the last couple of games. Various people have said that, and he's just looked a little bit off it when he's come back. Since he's come back, Upton. Upton Park Moyes would have had to get a police escort out now, and yeah, it just seems like a lot of people are getting disconnected with all of it. I mean, there's the video doing the rounds today of fans actually standing up and clapping Declan Rice after he just put one in the top corner to make it 6-0 to Arsenal against us. I mean, come on. You can show your respects to him, but there's no need to stand up and clap Declan Rice after he's just put one in the top corner to inflict further pain in a 6-0 pounding at home. I think people have just become disconnected with it. West Ham Till I Die, 1966. So spot on, Jake. I like Jordan for his other views, but he needs to open his eyes for sure. Jay says, I'm hoping we don't renew Johnson's contract, cash in on him. Johnson will be one that I keep listening. He didn't have a good game yesterday. He looked lost out on that side, but I think there's a player in there. I think he's proven that he's been the best out of a bad bunch really over the last month or so. So look, I'd keep him because I think there's a player in there, but I don't think it helps any player when they get shunted round from right back to left back to midfield to left wing to right wing. I mean, that's what he's had this season. He's played right back, right wing, left wing, centre midfield. And he's played different variations of those roles as well. That's 5 positions, for goodness sake. And it's not like he plays every week, is it? So the amount of games he's played, I'm going to see how many games he's played this year, Ben Johnson, because he just gets put anywhere and everywhere, and that can't do him any good. It can't do him any good, surely. And, you know, I think there is a really, really good player in there, but he is a young player, and there is some naivety with him. And but I do like his sort of raw pace and enthusiasm he has. I think that's something that other players do miss. I mean, this season, let's have a look at his stats and see how many games he has actually played this season, because he's been absolutely here, there and everywhere. You know, he's made 6 Premier League appearances. He's made 14 Premier League appearances this season, and that's not starts, by the way, as well. You know, that's either starts or coming off of the bench. And look at the amount of positions he's played. And honestly, it must be so infuriating for him. And I wouldn't blame him if he doesn't sign a contract and leaves the club. Moyes destroys players' confidence, drains the skill out of players. Moyes' man management and most parts of his game is just incredibly poor. I mean, what he's done to Ben Rama and Fornals, and listen, I'm not their biggest fans at all, but they've left the club and we haven't replaced them. Whose idea was that? It's lunacy. It's absolute lunacy. James Will-Prowse is noble with a set piece. Souček is Fellaini without the great... I tell you what, that's 2 very logical and probably correct links, Luke. I agree. For sure. Yeah. Can't argue with that at all. My comments have just skipped on. Let me just scroll back up. Moyes cannot fix this. He really must go. So as usual suspect, it's difficult to disagree with that. I'm in agreement. Trini says, ideally, we should be playing Agerd and Mavropanos as they both have relative pace, meaning we can drop the low block. Oh, yeah. Hang on, Moyes. That's what we've always got to come on to, isn't it? Yeah. Listen, I think there's potential with Agerd. It's whether we collectively make the decision to stick by him. But Zuma, I think, past it. I'm going to be totally honest. Agerd and Mavropanos, I think, yeah. It'd be interesting to see those two. I mean, you can't... The conundrum we've got now is, so Kurt Zuma's club captain. Moyes elected him that at the start of the season. He's been captain when he's played. So then all of a sudden, can he go onto the bench? Who becomes captain then? I'd give it to Bowen. Alvarez, one of those players I would. Bowen probably because of the work rate he puts in and how long he's been at the football club and all that. I give the armband to Bowen and put him back out on the right side when Antonio's back there. Here's a question. Here's some food for thought. So I think Bowen has been massively... I think he struggled up front. I really think he's been utilised in a way that doesn't improve him. And he had a brilliant start to the season, put down the middle, and he's just not the same. So when Antonio comes back to full fitness, which we're expecting to be about a couple of weeks, would you bring Antonio back in and then put Bowen out to his favourite position on the right? Because Antonio can bring that physicality that Bowen lacked. He got shoved off the ball a few times yesterday, maybe unfairly, maybe not, which resulted in the ball coming straight back to Arsenal and attacking from them started again. So yeah, I mean, I know not a lot of people are fans of Antonio, and I lost my tether with him before he got his injury. But would it be a little bit refreshing to see him through there and then Bowen in his natural position on the wing? I don't know. Put your thoughts about that into the comments section. Agerd is a better left back. Has he ever played left back? I don't know. I don't know. That's an interesting one. David says Moyes said we need to bring in more giants. Which is what Pablo Fornal said. Yeah, he did say that. Yeah, he said to the words of something along the lines of in the past we've had quite a big stature as a team, and it seems like we've lost that. So inferring that we're not as much of a threat from set pieces as we have been in the past. I mean, Dawson was a huge part of that, and of course we let him go. I mean, that was back January last year. So if Moyes is only just realising that, then what on earth has he been doing? If I'm totally honest with you, but yeah, I think he's right in that extent. He's probably said that in regard to, in reaction to how poor we defended set pieces yesterday as well. Our marking was absolutely horrific. It was so obvious what they were going to do from their set pieces, all running together. It's not like they're blimming, wearing black or they're wearing camouflage. They were in bright yellow. They're not difficult to see, and their plan was blatantly obvious. And we were so naive, we didn't even recognise the issues that were there. Mark has put a tenner in the pot. Thank you very much, Mark. That's greatly appreciated. It just popped up on the top of my screen. Mark, thank you very much. Huge supporter of the channel. So thank you very much indeed. You put a smile on my face at least, and that'll buy me a drink tonight as we are away. As you know, I'm not in my normal setup here. This isn't my bedroom. This isn't my bedroom. The bunk bed, of course, isn't here because we are away for a few days in Clacton. So yeah, that'll go towards a drink tonight, Mark. Legend as always. Thanks for your consistent support for the channel. Right, where did I get to? Trini says Noble was way better than James Ward-Prowse in his prime. Noble in that 2015-16 season, nobody really got close to Noble, even though he didn't get called up for England. But that's a debate for another day. Noble in his prime was criminally underrated, but James Ward-Prowse, I don't think he's on form at the moment. And judging him off what he's done so far, I think he's probably showed that he is that player that big fish in a small pond at Southampton, not so much here. And he's just got under the radar in an extent of just not quite done it enough, not quite good enough in that sense. Sullivan won't sack him, otherwise he'll have to pay him off. Good point. Good point. James Ward-Prowse needs to be dropped. Waste of a signing. Started off well, now just a passenger. It's hard to disagree with that, to be honest with you. To pay off Moyes' wages would cost Sullivan 1.5 weeks of Phillips' wage. Well, that's an interesting stat, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think they'll make any proactive decision before the end of the season unless things get awfully drastic. I mean, you can point some similarities, and I really don't want to say this, but somebody put it on Twitter yesterday. We play Burnley on the 10th of March next month. 10th of March 2018 was when all of that horrific actions unfolded, and the protests against the board was Burnley at home on March the 10th. It is exactly the same. It's similar. The opponent, the date is exactly the same. We're at home, and you know what? I really hope it doesn't turn toxic, and because it will paint the football club in a bad light again. But the frustrations are boiling over to the extent of that wouldn't surprise you, would it? Really, I mean, there was more anger back in 2018, I think it was, when that all unfolded, because people believed they were sold a lie about the stadium. There was that sort of extent of it as well, but it's getting to the point where the fans are just fed up. And the anger is beginning to explode. Graham says, can't we just remove Moyes from the first team but not sack him if they don't want to pay him off? Just keep him on the payroll if they don't want to pay him off and get somebody else in. Can't my stand put him on gardening leave until the end of his contract? Comment of the day goes the usual suspect. Gardening leave. I love it. Moyes breaks more players than Jose Mourinho. Moyes, if here, will play 3-5-2 against Forest. I think he'll make some change. Whether it'll be a formation change, I'm not entirely sure, but I think there will be some change in there. I mean, he's got to. Will says, Moyes' ball is null and void now simply because we simply aren't good enough at defending to sit back and defend. So what does Moyes exactly bring to the club now? It's a valid question, isn't it? It's really, really valid. And look, Moyes' ball is just about satisfactory if it works and we win football matches. But believe me, it is dire when we're in a state that we are in now, where it's just awful and it's unwatchable. And yeah, what does Moyes bring to this? What's the pros of keeping Moyes in a job? I don't know. I don't know. Will says Heitinga, Noble, Nolan, and Steiden are more capable of getting us through the season. Exactly. You know, Kevin Keane, you can add in there as well. There's a couple of others in there. I mean, with Moyes has built his structure of personnel in terms of the playing side of the football club, and to remove that, I mean, if Moyes went, would Nolan go? I don't know. I don't know. You know, Johnson. Yeah, Johnson played. So Johnson's played centre half, right back, left back, midfield, right wing, left wing. The poor lad. Honestly, you know, I am going to refrain from criticising him because of just the sheer amount of positions that he's being asked to play. It's absolutely ridiculous. James is exactly what we're missing: young, raw pace, hunger, and desire. Absolutely, Ralph says I do like Ben Johnson. He needs to be played in a maximum of 1 or 2 positions. You can't expect blimmin' Messi to go and play about 6 different positions in a season, because you're not going to get the best out of him. And the same sentiment with Ben Johnson. And I'm not linking Ben Johnson to Lionel Messi in any stretch of the imagination, but the sort of idea remains is that you can't do that to players because it just ruins them. And look what we're doing to Ben Johnson. He was lost yesterday, absolutely lost. David says Moyes is the Premier League #1 manager for losing, and he's trying to build a gap. Yeah, listen, he's managed the 4th most amount of games in the top flight, and he has lost the most games as a manager in the top flight of English football. Not really what you want on your CV, is it? Hammerhead says we need a manager who take the risk on a few youngsters and be patient. Seen other clubs do it, Chelsea and Arsenal. It's a process. Yeah, exactly. I think the fans would be much more understanding if we saw a clear route, a clear plan, a process, just to try and, you know, envisage what the future is going to hold. Because currently, I haven't got a clue. Ralph says I do not rate James Ward-Prowse at all. I never have. Get Gary O'Neill in. Decent manager, he's done a decent job, but similar to Moyes. That's my only qualm with that one. He's got quite similar attributes to Moyes. Handbrake on, very much manager. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think there's definitely a debate to have with Gary O'Neill. Michael says we need a captain that will ball out players for mistakes and wrong passes. Yeah, Zuma's not a leader, is he? I think that's become evidently clear over the last few months, and I think Moyes needs to elect a new captain that has those leadership qualities. Whether it's Bowen or Alvarez in the heart of that midfield could be a potential option. Don't know. Who do you think should be captain? Lob that in the chat as well. We'll continue on for a little while longer. Believe it or not, speaking for 42 minutes straight is quite difficult. So I will take a breather in a minute. But yeah, we will keep going until I get to the bottom of this comment section. 49 people watching. How many likes are we up to? I don't know because I'm on my wrong screen. Smash that like button anyhow if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel as well. We are up to 23 likes. Come on, let's get those likes up to 50. All of you watching now, hit that like button. We've got more than 50 people watching, so let's get 50 likes. Smash that like button. You never know, if you hit it, Moyes might get sacked. You never know. I can't give any guarantees, though. I can't give any guarantees. Take a look at Johnson trotting back, not covering Emerson when Saka was running riot. You know, Phillips has done it in the last couple of weeks as well. It's starting to creep back into this West Ham side. Just a bit of complacency, you know, not trying and not putting the work rate in as much as we have seen in the past. It's starting to creep back in. Steve says we need a no-nonsense centre-back who gets stuck in, and Agard isn't that. I 100% agree. And I'm going to bring out my favourite player, Craig Dawson, no-nonsense centre-half, and boy, do we miss his involvement and his impact he has on games. Absolutely. A Craig Dawson like player is what we are missing currently. Robert, I hope you well. He says, listen, it's football. This happens. Remember, Liverpool beat Manchester United 7-0 last year. Absolutely, but there still needs to be a change. You know, we can't continue letting this happen. This isn't a one-off though, Robert, is it? And so I do understand your point 100%, but this isn't a one-off. Not only has this result been building up for a significant period of time, there's also been 4 results similar to this throughout this season where we've had poundings, and there's also been games, and this result's been coming for a while. And the reason I say that is because we've been that poor in a lot of games this season, and teams just haven't capitalised on us and really punished us Bournemouth could have done the other week. That could have turned ugly, and it did against Arsenal, just because they had that extra firepower that perhaps other clubs don't have. Michael says, sum it up. There was no pride, no passion, no clue on or off the pitch yesterday. It was a derby. Exactly. It's a game where everybody involved knows the meaning of it because of what's happened over the last few months. Of course, with the Rice situation, this game just means that a little bit more. And for that performance to be put in yesterday was completely unacceptable. Mark, thank you very much indeed, mate. Thanks for joining us. The media have painted our fans in such a bad way. So nothing to lose if we protest. I think it will get to that point. Unfortunately, and we get painted in such a bad picture, that we're so ungrateful and all this and all that. It is really annoying. It's really annoying. Where do West Ham realistically think they should be on the table? Is Moyes actually underperforming? Now, when people bring up the table and all of that, listen, we're not going to finish in Europe. And if we play like we did yesterday, then we're going to be in the bottom half of the table come the end of the season. But it's obvious through the whole fan base that we're just fed up of this, that it's just time for a change. We've naturally met a point of progression now where something needs to be shifted, a change needs to be occurred. Because otherwise it's just going to go from bad to worse. All good things have to come to an end. This tenure under David Moyes has had some good times. It's also had some bad times as well. But now I think it's just finally time to say goodbye, in my opinion. But that's just my 2 pence worth. Hey, against Forest, we'll be 11th at the back. Oh dear, to be honest, I'm quite grateful we're not going up to Nottingham, because I can see a mile off what's going to happen there. Nottingham Forest at home, they haven't been great this season, but at home they're still quite a decent side. I can just see what's going to happen there a mile off. Michael says, with the squad we have, West Ham should be in the 6th to 10th bracket every single year. Exactly. And we may well get to the latter end of that this season, but when the style of football is like this, you almost just get disconnected by it because of just how droll and boring it is. But listen, it is what it is. Graham says, there we go, Moyes is top of the league, even if it's only in defeats. Way to go. Exactly. We have the 7th highest wage bill with a small squad. I saw that. Somebody put that on Twitter actually, about all the wage lists. And listen, Sean Whetstone did say that those wage lists were a little bit, a little bit wide of the mark in terms of the figures, but I don't think it's massively far off, and I think we are probably up there. We've got a really small squad, and we do pay a lot of players a lot of money. Danny Ings is the prime example to that. Man City's wage bill is £190 million a year. Luton's is £20 million a year. I don't think they look at wage caps. It is the way to go. That is a staggering difference, isn't it? That is absolutely staggering. Moyes and Sullivan can't change, so we are stuck in limbo. Hammerhead says Alvarez, he's a real proper, somewhat old-fashioned style captain. He'd be brilliant. I think he's a decent option. Either him or Bowen. Toss a coin. Though they would be my 2 options. Fornals and Benrahma restarted beautifully with Real Betis and Leon. What a mess! Exactly. I think Benrahma put in a decent performance. Fornals has already netted a goal for Real Betis, and look, you take the shackles off of these players, and maybe they are better than what we all perceived and what we all witnessed for the last sort of 12 months of their West Ham careers. I thought that Burnley game was the lowest things could get. I can't believe it's on the same day. Honestly, it's staggering, isn't it? It's on the same day. It's a concern. It is a concern. Moyes shackles the players. I'm not surprised. They're doing well at their new clubs. Good luck to them, absolutely. I mean, we even struggled against Kidderminster. That game does not need to be reminded in my memory. Honestly, that was stressful. Would Callum Wilson be off the cards? Would Callum Wilson be off the cards for us bringing him in? I don't know. His name was banded around towards the back end of the January transfer window, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm a little bit undecided on that, if I'm being totally honest. Both Fornals and Benrahma are winning for their clubs. What have we done? Exactly. Exactly. But look, it is what it is. Jay says, I'm just trying to think of a young goal-scoring striker we could go in for. Oh dear. Helen says, did Moyes agree to the selling of Fornals and loaning of Benny, or did Sullivan just do it? Don't know. Don't know. Cyclops says Bowen too quiet and wrong position for Captain Alvarez. I mean, yeah, I see that. I understand that. Yeah. So probably Alvarez. I think would be. Yeah, I'd be leaning towards Alvarez. Absolutely. I've reached the bottom of the comment section. Whew. And there's a breath. There's a breath. It's only taken 49 minutes. But yeah, look, I'm going to carry on for a little bit while longer. So any final thoughts that you have, lob those into the comment section and the live chat if you're joining me live watching. Now let's see how many likes we're up to. Let me refresh my page. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Massively helps the channel out. We are at the 28. Come on, people. You're slacking. Hit that like button. But yeah, I'm just going to provide my final thoughts as you guys put your final thoughts into the chat before we wrap things up. And at the end of the day, let's just reiterate what I went over a little bit earlier on. And it was regarding David Moyes and potential contract discussions. We heard from the Daily Mail, who have said contract talks have stalled with David Moyes. A contract was being discussed for an extension to 2026, but now that has been put on hold just so the board can sort of gauge. Oh no, Luke Littler's at a 9 data. Wow. Is there anything that lad can do? That's got absolutely nothing to do with football, but Luke Littler has just hit a 9 data on the championship stage. Go on, lad. Go on. He is unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable. 17 years old, but there we go. Anyway, moving back to West Ham. David Moyes' contract talks have stalled. There was talks, and it seemed like things were progressing quite well, but that's halted after yesterday's embarrassment. Jacob Steinberg has tweeted, despite positivity last month, there's now no guarantee that West Ham will end up giving David Moyes a new deal. Some will expect him to stay, but recent form has changed the mood. Further talks planned later in the season. West Ham are hoping to see an improvement in results. Mood could change if Paqueta returns and improves the attack. Some winnable games are coming up. Progress in Europe would also help Moyes' position. Always going to be ups and downs with a mid-table team, so there's no panic, but West Ham have been looking at potential replacements, and we did discuss some potential replacements, and according to the bookies, these are the leading options: Graham Potter, Xabi Alonso, Will Steele, Michael Carrick, Steve Cooper, and Paulo Fonseca. That is my roundup. That is all of the latest West Ham news regarding David Moyes' current position as West Ham manager. We've delved deep into the issues over the last 51 minutes of West Ham's quite dire situation at the moment. Let's just take some of your final comments and read exactly. Yeah, fair play to Seb Haller as well. Brilliant, well done to him. Also, he scored the winning goal in the AFCON yesterday. I mean, we let him go. He then got diagnosed with testicular cancer, which is absolutely horrible, and fair play to him. He recovered from that, and then to score the winner for his country in AFCON is absolutely brilliant. You know, I work with DC38 quite closely, the West Ham testicular cancer charity, and yeah, the effects that has on you are, you know, they go without saying. So for him to have the character and the guts and the real determination to get up and get going again and get on with it, and then to be rewarded, and for himself to have that just a year after he was diagnosed is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, there's been lots of love for Sebastian Haller on West Ham Twitter over the last 12, 18 hours or so, and rightly so, and deserve. Fair play to him. Well done, Seb. Good on you, mate. Absolutely. What would Jake eat tonight? We're going out for a meal tonight, right? This is the final comment. What do you think I should have tonight? Normal pub food, menu. You know what I mean. What do you think I should eat? Put your suggestions for meals in the chat, and I'll let you know a little bit later on the Roundup show what I did have when Sean joins me to discuss all of the Premier League results from the weekend's action. Ralph says, I don't want to see a win in the next three. Moyes is going to get the boot. I live in hope. Michael says, final thoughts. I can see it getting more toxic before it gets better. Unfortunately, I agree with you, Michael. Yeah, unfortunately, I agree. Hammerhead says, final thoughts. Get the stubborn Scotsman. Try saying that after a few. Gone. Give us back our West Ham. We all know and love. Come on, you irons. Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. Was he hiding in the dugout second half? Well, they kept zooming into him on Sky with a bemused look on his face. I don't know why he was bemused, because we're not bemused. This result's been coming for a long time. Potentially not the severity severity of it and how actually awful it was. But that sort of pounding had been coming for a while. Spam. What even is spam? I see it in little cans. Like, why would anyone go, oh yeah, I'm going to have that spam? It just sounds awful. Eggs and chips. Ugh. Cyclops says, perhaps darts should be my new sport to follow. I love a bit of darts. I love a bit of darts. Luke Littler has rejuvenated the sport, I think. And yeah, I do love the darts for sure. Right there. I'm not eating a fish. Surf and turf, no fish. Scrap the fish, no fish. It's not happening. Jumped out of my seat when Halle scored. No, it's not McDonald's. We're going to a pub. We're off to. It's called the Roaring Donkey. What a cool name that is. But yeah, West Ham Dice says we all want Moyes to succeed, but he backs himself into a corner with his stubbornness. He does. He does. That's a fair comment, and we will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We've done nearly an hour of discussing and sort of venting frustrations regarding West Ham's current situation. I hope it's made you feel a bit better, because it's made me feel a little bit better, actually. And yeah, thanks for watching. Drop a like, subscribe, become a member, donate to the channel if you'd like as well. And we'll take some of your meal suggestions before we wrap things up. We were West Ham the other day. Curry. Pub grub Thai curry. So a few votes for the curry, no desserts. Yeah, dream on. Dream on. But yeah, thanks everybody for your comments and participation in the chat. This show is nothing without you guys and all your comments, and I've agreed with most of them this afternoon. And yeah, you've been great company. So thank you very much for all your interaction, likes, and all of that. And until 8 o'clock tonight, join me for our Premier League roundup show where we will discuss very quickly the West Ham game and round up all of the other Premier League action. That's 8 o'clock. But until then, come on, you irons, and I will see you soon right here on West Ham Official. Try keeping the faith if you can. You're doing a better job than me. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.